Well, my understanding is that very early on, the founders of Burning Man created 10 principles similar to the 10 commandments in a way. It's interesting that it's the same number. And and I think that connection is I find it very interesting. And the first principle is what's called radical inclusion. And that's what you're
Mhm.
talking about now, isn't it? Tell us more
Right.
about radical inclusion and what it means to Marian.
Well, it's really interesting that you gave me that extremely flattering introduction. Um, from a historical standpoint, when we first found a need for to codify or to write down what it was that was happening at Burning Man, it didn't there really wasn't a necessity to define it in such a way until the culture started replicating, until people in other parts of the world wanted to know, how do we do it? How do we do it right? How do we follow what you're doing? And, we wrote blog posts at the time. There was a newsletter. We had the Jackrabbit. Um, Larry was the philosopher. And I kept asking him, could you please tell the folks out in the world what it is? What are the pieces that we want them to adhere to? And he took a vacation. He went to Mazatlan to visit a friend, and he said that every day he went into the square and sat and wrote, thinking about what were the commonalities over the years. What had they learned since 1986? And this was 2004. So what had they learned at that point in nearly 20 years? And he did come back to the leadership group with 9 of these principles, and we gave him a hard time. We teased him, and we said, "Well, if you've got as far as 9, why don't you have 10?" And he went back and came back with one the next day, which is the last one, immediacy. And it's interesting that the order, in a way, was not deliberate, but then it was. It's sort of almost the order in which he wrote it down. So radical inclusion, it is the first thing I mentioned because I think it's probably a very foundational aspect to the Burning Man culture. Many of these different pieces exist in different parts of culture. And in fact, we like to say that all the 10 principles exist together. But radical inclusion is meant to, encourage everybody to welcome everyone to the table. One of the things we've noticed through the dissemination of the culture as people work to create Burning Man culture out in the world, they have been struggling with, well, radical inclusion. What do I do with people that deviate from the community? They don't want to follow the rules. What do we do with predators? You made that mention earlier. And what do we do with people that think differently? So, in the case of the culture in general, the the goal was that we want people to be welcome at the table. If you don't follow the cultural norms, you like in any culture, you may be asked to leave. You may be asked to modify your approach in order to really be a member of the culture or the member of the group or a member of the tribe. So we don't believe that you need to keep people with ill will in the community, but we do believe that you look up and you welcome someone to the table. You welcome them into the conversation.
So, if I understand you correctly, if there are unusual cases where you have to exclude rather than include, it's based on behavior, not based on how they look or their religion or their belief system or their politics. It's based on how they're treating other people in the community. Is that correct?
Absolutely. That's probably part of our little secret sauce at Burning Man would be that, people make an assumption that we're pretty left wing, but we have plenty of people that are not left wing. And we make it a really very important aspect of how we operate to not exclude people because of their color, because of their nationality, and because of their politics. Burning Man would probably drop into being an echo chamber of particular opinion if we didn't make it super clear that in order to really be pro human potential, we absolutely have to emphasize the importance of being accepting and listening to others. It doesn't mean you have to like everything you hear. It doesn't mean you actually have to accept what their ideas are, but it really does mean taking the time to, realize the humanity in which we're all in. And that if you get deep enough there, you can hear a lot of diverse opinions and still sit with it and bring people to the table. And frankly, you know, there's a lot of people that say that Burning Man is sort of an antidote to the division. And I believe that radical inclusion is, the first principle for that reason. Let's bring people to the table. Let's connect and listen and be inclusive.
Well, certainly radical inclusion is at least a partial, if not a total antidote to exclusion and to division. And for those just tuning in, we're talking to Marian Goodell, the CEO of Burning Man, and we're talking about the 10 principles. And the reason we are is because Burning Man, from some of our perspectives, is a force for the positive of social change, of cultural change,